So for a studio that defined what modern superhero games look like, Rocksteady has been unusually quiet for a long time. After the Arkham trilogy wrapped up and expectations around the studio shifted, the absence of a clear next step left a lot of questions hanging in the air. Then Warner Brothers Games came in the picture and wanted more of that Batman and DC money, so they created that failure of a game I don't want to talk about. But it seems things have changed recently, and Warner Brothers Games is reportedly giving full freedom to Rocksteady for their next game, being a new Batman project. Over the past year, a different picture has started to form, not through announcements, but through patterns. Warner Brothers Games has been going through a period of consolidation, projects have been cancelled or scaled back, internal priorities have been reshuffled, and resources are being directed toward franchises with a proven track record. In that landscape, Batman keeps resurfacing, not as a remaster, not as a side project, as a major production being built with long-term intent. According to multiple leaks and insider reports, Rocksteady is working on a new Batman game. It hasn't been officially revealed, but the consistency of reporting around it makes it difficult to ignore. What's striking is how this project is described, rather than being framed as a sequel to Arkham Knight or a continuation of the Arkham timeline. It's widely rumored to be a big reboot of the franchise, and we've reportedly received details on it. That reboot angle changes the entire conversation. It suggests Rocksteady isn't interested in extending a story that already reached a definitive ending. Instead, the studio appears to be aiming for a fresh starting point, one that keeps the core appeal of Batman intact while freeing the team from years of continuity, mechanical expectations, and narrative baggage. From a development standpoint, that approach makes sense. The Arkham games were built across 2 console generations, each with their own technical limits. A reboot allows Rocksteady to design a Batman game specifically around modern hardware, rather than adapting old ideas to new systems. Internally, this Batman project is reportedly one of Warner Brothers Games' highest priorities, alongside Hogwarts Legacy 2. Those 2 franchises represent the publisher's most reliable successes, and recent hiring activity suggests both are receiving significant investment. Now, job listings tied to unannounced projects reference open world design, combat systems, animation, and gameplay engineering, the kinds of roles associated with a large systemic action game. Rocksteady leading the project is also a deliberate choice. Whatever criticism the studio faced with its most recent work, the Arkham series remains one of the most respected action franchises of the last 2 decades. Warner Brothers knows that credibility still matters, especially when trying to re-engage an audience that's grown skeptical. As for gameplay, there are no officially confirmed systems, but several elements have been rumored consistently enough to be worth discussing. First, scale. Multiple sources suggest this will be the largest Batman game Rocksteady has made. That doesn't automatically mean a bloated map or endless side content, but it does point to a broader vision of Gotham, designed from the ground up rather than iterated on. It seems the world will have different districts, the return of many villains, and a completely new story. It also seems Warner Brothers want this new Batman game to be tied with the Batman movies that are ongoing, and the second movie being released in 2027. That means the game could be more realistic, more brutal, and also centered on the detective side of Batman. This is already sounding more exciting than anything the Suicide Squad game has ever done. A reboot also opens the door to reworking core mechanics. The Arkham combat system became iconic, but over time it also became predictable. Rumors suggest Rocksteady is exploring changes to combat flow, not by abandoning what worked, but by reducing how scripted encounters can feel. The emphasis appears to be on making fights less about perfect rhythm and more about positioning, awareness, and enemy behavior. Stealth is another area where expectations are shifting. The Arkham Predator encounters were effective, but they often relied on clearly defined spaces and repeatable patterns. Leaks point toward a more flexible stealth approach, one that still rewards planning and patience, but doesn't funnel players into identical solutions every time. Traversal is almost certainly being revisited as well. With modern hardware, Rocksteady has far more freedom to experiment with movement, verticality, and speed. Gliding, grappling, and free movement through the city are likely to remain core to the experience, but the way they're integrated could change significantly. A reboot gives the team room to refine how Batman moves through the world without being locked to previous implementations. Narratively, the reboot angle suggests a clean slate. Not necessarily a retelling of Batman's origin, but a version of the character unburdened by the events of Arkham Knight. That opens the door to new interpretations of Gotham, its villains, and Batman himself. Leaks haven't pointed to specific characters or storylines, but the absence of concrete details reinforces the idea that this isn't a direct continuation. What's just as important is what hasn't surfaced. There's been no credible reporting suggesting the multiplayer-first design or monetization-focused systems are back. Instead, it will be a single-player experience like what they're used to. Given recent backlash to those approaches, the lack of such rumors is notable, even if it doesn't guarantee anything. Of course, skepticism is warranted. Warner Bros. Games has stumbled before, and ambition alone doesn't ensure quality. Large-scale reboots are risky, especially when expectations are as high as they are for Batman. Development timelines can shift, creative direction can change, and internal pressure can reshape projects in ways players never see coming. Still, the broader context matters without needing to spell it out. Batman is one of Warner Bros.' most valuable properties. Rocksteady's reputation is tied to this franchise, and modern hardware gives the studio an opportunity they didn't have when Arkham Asylum launched back in 2009. Taken together, the leaks suggest a Batman game built to reset the franchise, not coast on nostalgia. A project designed to re-establish confidence rather than chase trends. That doesn't guarantee success, but it does make the direction worth paying attention to. Until Warner Bros. And Rocksteady are ready to show actual gameplay, everything remains subject to change. But for the first time in years, the pieces on the board suggest a Batman game that's being treated with real intent rather than obligation. And after everything that's happened with the franchise, that alone is enough to make people watch closely, carefully, and without blind trust. And that careful attention is necessary because Rocksteady and Warner Bros. Don't get the benefit of blind faith anymore. Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League did real damage to Rocksteady's reputation, not because it was a technical disaster, but because it represented a clear shift away from what the studio was known for. They went the greedy route of telling people the game will live on forever with updates, repetitive mission structure, aggressive progression systems, and a design that felt driven more by monetization than creativity left a lot of longtime fans frustrated. That wasn't a minor misstep, it fundamentally changed how people look at anything Rocksteady touches now. Warner Bros. Games also hasn't helped its own image. Over the last few years, the publisher has leaned hard into chasing trends rather than setting them. We've seen ambitious projects cancelled, studios restructured, and creative direction altered mid-development. The push toward games designed around engagement metrics rather than complete experiences has left players wary, especially when it comes to beloved franchises. That's why this rumored Batman reboot carries a different weight. It isn't just another game announcement waiting to happen, it's a test of whether Rocksteady can return to focused, single-player design, and whether Warner Bros. Is willing to step back from the kind of corporate interference that derailed Suicide Squad. The reboot angle helps, but it doesn't solve everything. Starting fresh removes narrative constraints, but it doesn't automatically fix design philosophy. The question isn't whether Rocksteady knows how to make a great Batman game. They've already proven that. The question is whether they're allowed to make one without compromises aimed at long-term monetization or artificial retention. There are encouraging signs, even if they're indirect. The absence of credible leaks pointing to live service structures or mandatory online components stands out, especially given Warner Bros.' recent history. So does the reported internal prioritization of Batman as a prestige project rather than a platform. That suggests a recognition that the franchise needs to regain trust before it can be expanded or monetized further. Hardware timing also works in this game's favor. This isn't a cross-gen release designed to support aging consoles. It's being built with modern systems in mind from the start, which gives Rocksteady room to focus on performance, scale, and polish rather than technical compromises. If you'd like to see more news on this upcoming Batman game, like the video right now and subscribe to stay tuned.